If you are right now living in constant vigilance, waiting for the right moment, exhausted by the what ifs and hypothetical thinking, afraid to have a conversation with a colleague, right? Afraid of the partnership or how things are going to turn out because you just can't find the right words, you can't find the right time. You're not trusting the process. You're being held back by it. And I want to talk about this today in a way that helps to give you some insight on the power of trust. You're watching the Dynamic Presence podcast. I'm your host, Sue Perez. Today, we're going to be talking about trust. This is one of those topics that we're all affected by, right? This is not something like a core value or belief. It's something that we struggle with, trust. And especially if someone has broken our trust. And it's interesting, when I was younger, I used to say, I trust everyone until they prove that they can't be trusted. Then I grew up and I realized I just can't trust people that easily, right? You learn that. You learn that. And you learn that your trust is just not given away freely, right? This is something that people earn and it happens over time. People need to prove that they're worthy of our trust. If you are right now living in constant vigilance, waiting for the right moment, exhausted by the what ifs and hypothetical thinking, afraid to have a conversation with a colleague, right? Afraid of the partnership or how things are going to turn out because you just can't find the right words, you can't find the right time. You're not trusting the process. You're being held back by it. And I want to talk about this today in a way that helps to give you some insight on the power of trust and what happens when we can really embrace it. So, trust is the first doorway, learning to release fear and trust in the divine timing of things. I remember once I was traveling for work and I was traveling from Philadelphia to Boston and I was taking a train. And, naturally, you're running on time, you have a schedule, you have your luggage, and I was shopping for something before I got on the train and I missed my train. I literally missed it. And I remember feeling incredibly frustrated because it was a business connection. And I got another train. It wasn't that too far, but at the time I was so frustrated. And in that process of waiting for the next train, which is like 45 minutes or something, I met this terrific woman who literally knew a colleague of mine. And I had just finished working with them. And she was so excited. She goes, I know someone else that could really use your help. And it turned into like another business connection, which was remarkable, right? Like, you just don't know. You don't know what's gonna happen in a short span of time when you just allow things to happen without feeling like you're missing out, right? Like, I was so worried about that connection, and then had I not missed that train, I wouldn't have met this person who mystically was able to work with me and introduce me to even more business. So the purpose of trust really is, or the process of it, is to open your heart, right? To let your heart absorb, let it resonate. Like, we don't need to control everything. We can trust the process. We can allow ourselves to just identify with what that means. And I feel like, transformation, it really begins when we can start that, when we can just trust, we can just allow ourselves to freely express, explore, uh, you know, trust in me, trust in you, trust the relationship, right? Sometimes we have a working relationship. We don't always know, like, how we're going to appear, how we're going to seem. Can I say this? Will it upset somebody? Trust that it won't. Think positively of the person. Think positively of that conversation, right? Imagine it going well. Don't imagine it going terribly wrong, which I think is what most people do. They worry so much about the outcome, and that stagnates you. That stops you dead in your tracks, right? So think of trust as a doorway. Like, you're literally traveling from one location to the next. That's the process of trust. And learning to release fear by trusting, I think, is like the first step in really living with divine timing and working toward things and allowing things to happen in a natural way. And most of the time you realize too, like, in hindsight, you go, wow, I'm so glad for that delay. Or I'm so glad that that thing didn't really work out, because had it not worked out, I wouldn't have this. Or, you can look back and actually remember very, very specific times in your life where that was the benefit. And if you're watching this on YouTube, put it down in the chat, like write down like the time that you realized it was like you learned, like it's okay if things don't always go perfectly on plan or on schedule. Like I love to see that. Um, but I feel like most people that struggle with trust, there's a lot of issues around it. I had a conversation with a colleague who expressed fear, fear around, talking to her boss, and talking to her boss made her feel afraid because she was worried about her boss not really having confidence in her, like trusting her. She didn't trust the process of even having a conversation. And look at how it's holding her back. It's holding her back from maybe gaining massive momentum in that business relationship or that work relationship because she needs to be seen and she needs to trust her boss and her boss needs to trust her. But if you're not even comfortable talking to your boss and you can't even just find the words to sit down and even ask for that. Like, ask for that safety. Or you could even say it in an email. I need to have a meeting with you, and I really would like just a few moments of your time to talk about some things I've been experiencing, not related to work, but something else, so that they have an idea you're going to talk about something. And then make that time and see them and have your notes or have the things that you feel have been examples or situations where you've had that feeling of disconnect, where you feel like you just didn't feel like you could be trusted, whatever it is, whatever those issues are, have them, have those notes, and then talk to your boss or whoever that is. It could be a colleague, a friend, a partner, a business associate, your lover, anybody, right? And you say, I have to share this with you, and I just really want to, would you listen to me? Would you just hold space for me while I express myself? Ask for trust. Like, just ask for the process to be able to share what's in your heart. It's very hard for us to do that, right? We're so afraid of being judged and not being accepted and being rejected and not having or saying the thing that we think people want to hear and feel and see. So what happens with that, like, when you recognize, right, that fear is, like, disguised, right? It's literally disguised in this sense of, "I need to be very prepared. I need to do better. I need to have it perfect, and if I don't do it right, then, if it doesn't come out that way, then it's a total failure, a flop. It doesn't work out." Like, that there's fear disguised in preparation. That's also part of the process, right? When we trust, we don't have to feel so rigid. We don't have to have such a sense of control. We can trust that our best is good enough, that what we create, what we're providing is acceptable. Even if it misses the mark, even if it doesn't reach the goal 100%, it's movement, it's progress, it's moving in that direction. There's a trajectory, right? It's moving forward. And so that momentum is something that we need to recognize and acknowledge and value and be excited about. I think I think that that's trust, trusting that process that what I'm doing, what I'm creating here at work, what I'm providing my team, what I'm is really going to impact them positively. Just doing your work with that intention, thinking that way, feeling that way. I'm contributing something. This is great. It is going to be awesome. This is, they're going to love this, right? Trust it. And I think that that's something we don't do enough. We really don't. I feel like people are, living like really in this perpetual state of nerves, tension because of it, because of trust, not feeling trustworthy, not feeling like they can trust their own decisions, not that they can trust their own ideas or their input or trust what people will think and that they'll think good or bad or, they just it's like a state of hyper anxiety in a sense, just the unknown, that fear, instead of just trust that it's enough, that you're enough. I have had so many experiences in my life where I feel like when I allowed myself to trust, when I allowed myself just to let things happen naturally and not have to worry so much about the outcome, especially stop thinking about why and what if. I think that that's like a trap. You know what I mean? Like that thinking of, well, I'm pretty sure that they didn't do that because X, Y, and Z happened, and then elemental P, and then QRS TUZ, right? Those are all like variables. Like we don't know, but it's a hypothetical because we're imagining, we're making it up. We're literally making up the reason. Thinking that way in the hypothetical is also a self-limiting behavior because you're not trusting reality here. You're making it up. You're literally inventing a story because you want to feel better about it for whatever reason. That's something human beings we do. We want to justify. So to have that justification, we create a scenario. And it's completely fabricated. We don't really know. If there's no evidence to point to that, if we don't have really concrete proof to point to that thinking, then what are we really doing? Hyper thinking, the hypothetical of the unknown. There's no value there. There's no value. And it's okay to think it for a second, like, oh, well, maybe they didn't call me because something came up or, whatever. But when you go into details and you create a story and it has pictures and outlines and times of day and people are wearing certain clothes in the thinking, you know what I mean? By details like that. So I really encourage you to consider trust in your own life, where it's showing up, how it's holding you back, how it's making you feel resistance in your body, how it's limiting you from opening your mouth and just expressing yourself, right? Just sharing your ideas, your goals, your feelings, your feedback. Right? I had a meeting with one of my clients actually, and she manages a few people, and she's having some struggles with managing them, which happens when you're a manager. It's one of the wonderful things you get to do, manage people, right? Sometimes, and so she's had some obstacles with getting her team members to be consistent, on time, in its family manner, come and be on meetings. Some of the things were that the work that they're doing is inaccurate. It's not as polished. She needs to go back and ask them to redo it multiple times, even after they've been trained. I mean, there was a list of things that she expressed to me. When I helped her to redefine the roles and gave her some feedback on how she could approach it, I could see that it was tough for her because she admitted it. She said, I feel like I don't want to be confrontational and give them feedback that is going to make them feel bad. I want to be the nice person, the nice manager, the good guy at work, Are you doing that? Is that you right now? Wherever you are watching this, are you feeling like that? Are you having a hard time trusting your own voice to give direction in your role as a manager for either your business or your organization? That is something that you should feel comfortable doing and not inhibited and not fearful about. But it's okay if you feel fearful. It's normal. I think we want to be liked. We want people to work well with us, right? But when we are giving feedback and we are asking people to be accountable, that's not confrontational. I had to help her reframe all of that, and I had to help her lean into trusting herself more. She needs to trust that she can do this, have this conversation, because in the future, she's gonna be leading so many more teams and so many more people. So use this opportunity, use this time now to overcome that inability to feel confident having conversations. And I gave her a lot of structure and guidance on how to have the conversation, the best way to have the conversation, the kind of words she could use, almost like a script, like an outline to empower her to know that when she has that meeting, what it should sound like. Because again, everything is for growth. It's not about reprimanding or yelling or making people feel fearful or, like she said, confrontational. I don't want to be confrontational. Absolutely not. It's not about that. But I think stepping into her own sense of self and trusting herself, that's really what she was really struggling with. Because when we know that our intention is really to help people and enable them, leadership is about raising leaders. So, I helped her to reframe that. And trust is part of that. You need to trust people. You need to trust that they're going to show up and do their jobs. And we're trusted upon to assist in that and to develop people so that they understand the value of their roles and what they're contributing. So it all kind of works together. But overall, trust is a muscle, just like anything else. If you go to the gym and you're doing squats and lunges, like, don't we love that when we're doing jumping squats with 50 pounds or 80 pounds, right? What happens after a while to your quads? What happens to your glutes? What do we see, right? It's beautiful. Our bodies start to become stronger and we have more natural ability. We have our inner core strength and our posture is better, right? Well, trust is the same way. Trust works exactly like that. It's a muscle. Every time that you let go of, of certainty of what your thought processes are, what you that hypothetical, when you let go of that, it grows stronger. Trust has a place to grow. And trust, it isn't stillness. It isn't, it's surrender in motion. Every time that you release the need to know, every time that you release the fear around it, that those hypothetical thinkings, all those obstacles, mental, they're really mental, right? And they create anxiety in our bodies. Whenever we let go of that, as soon as we start that process, right, the unknown, we embrace it. As soon as you do that, it grows stronger. Trust. So if you're watching this on YouTube, drop me a comment and tell me what you can no longer trust in your life. Maybe it's a place that you go to and you hang out. Maybe it's a group that you belong to. Maybe it's people. Maybe it's a person. What is it that you can no longer trust? And is it really that you can't trust them? Like, what is really happening here? Try to think about that. How is trust showing up in your life? Where's that disconnect for you? I want to give you a little task. I like doing this because it helps people to connect more to what I'm teaching. But basically, I'm talking about muscles, right? I'm talking about like I'm gonna do this really easily for you, right? I want you to hold your wrist at the pulse point, right? So for me, I'm gonna put my thumb right here. You can feel a little pulse. I want you to do this right now if you're watching. Just like hold your and feel the pulse. Just feel that pulse on your hand. Or you could also press if you want, if it feels more comfortable for you to press your fingers against your main arteries here. We have bigger arteries. It's easier for us sometimes. It's just like let's hold on. So I'm calling this the pulse check. The pulse check, which I think is ooh, I got it there. Yes. So I want you to right now, if you're watching this, just do this. Follow this with me. Feel that pulse. I really want you to get to center yourself on it. And then I want you to think about a small worry that you can't control. And I'm going to invite you to feel that rhythm. Do you see how it's beating? Do you feel that pulse? It beats without your permission. It's always there. You don't even need to feel it to know it's there, that your heart is beating. You live because it does. Right? And every time that you lose your grip on what should be, you give life permission to show you what can be. You're not lost. You're right on time. And I want you to know that the timing is divine. Trust in that. Trust that something that you will get better at. Trusting other people. Maybe you don't trust anybody. How are you paying a price for that? How are you losing? There's a cost. And we don't trust. Trust isn't stillness. It's surrender in motion. And every time that you release the need to know, it grows stronger. If you're ready to stop fighting time and start flowing with it, in my next video, I'm going to be discussing a good one, control. Because when you begin to trust, you realize how tightly you've been gripping the reins for control. So join me on the next one. Connect with me on YouTube. Drop your comments. Also, if you've liked this, please click like and subscribe. This is the Dynamic Presence Podcast. Thanks for watching. And I'm Sue Perez, your lighthouse.